Sure.
Holy cow, that's
If-
terrible.
where's
The
Rob?
signature doesn't match.
Where is Robin?
Then we
Robin
can get a
decided
provisional
she
ballot.
was not going to be here today. This was supposed to be the League of Women Voters candidate forum that was supposed to happen in September. Robin decided she couldn't make that date. As I understand it, there were at least 4 other dates presented that she couldn't make.
Were you available for that?
I was available for all of them.
Okay.
And we all confirmed that today would be the day that we were gonna do this. And at the last minute or so, Robin said, I'm not doing it. She backed down. And now she's spending our tax dollars, flying overseas to Tokyo, under the auspices of drumming up business for Illinois. I don't know what business she's going to be drumming up for Illinois, because we have been losing jobs and losing people for the last, 8 years at least, if not more. So the idea that she's going to be able to bring more jobs here without picking winners and losers, I don't see it happening. That seems to be her motive, or her modus operandi for getting jobs and getting businesses here, is to pick the winners and losers. So we give Goshen $500 million of Illinois taxpayer money to come here and open a plant, and then we find out that the federal government's not even going to buy their batteries. This is a giant, boondoggle of a plant that is, quite frankly, environmentally unsafe. It's going to put out 10 tons of carbon per battery produced into the Illinois atmosphere. So if you're worried about, our greenhouse effect, it's going to destroy that. And then she's going to pick, another one she had, the car manufacturer, Riva, right? We paid them $857 million, I believe, somewhere in that area. They created 550 jobs. So again, picking winners and losers. Now, of course, all the businesses that were here, they don't get anything. They don't get benefits. They don't get any tax breaks. They expect to pay those taxes, pay their property taxes, even though they've been here for decades, possibly generations. Supporting the Cub Scouts, supporting the local baseball teams and the soccer teams and all those fun things, but they don't get any breaks. But if you're on the side of the Democrats and you're on the side of the people in power, they're going to give you a tax break. So how she's going to get businesses here, I'm not quite sure.
So I'm going to add to that. So did a little bit of homework, and where would we be without the St. Louis Federal Reserve? So according to the St. Louis Federal Reserve, there were 158,087 private establishments in Cook County in 2014. It is now down to 140,986. So it's a two-part question. One, why has this happened? And then the second part, I was looking, the state of Wisconsin and Cook County have essentially the same population. Cook County's unemployment rate is 6.7%, and Wisconsin's unemployment rate is 2.9%. What can you do to change that, and to what degree do you think the voting public actually knows about that?
Well, I don't think the voting public probably knows about it, because most people aren't looking at the Wisconsin unemployment numbers. But when it comes to, the job disparity of what we've been losing jobs, like you said, in Cook County and in Illinois for quite a while. And if you ask the business people, why are you leaving? Why have you closed up? Well, their issue is always taxes and regulations. When you're a small business, it's very difficult, to operate under something that's very tax heavy or very over-regulated. It's very difficult to deal with that. You talk to the business owners on the street. I mean, if you live in Evanston, you hear it all the time. They just had a thing about their parking meters in Evanston. You think it's a no big deal, but the business owners are saying, can we please get rid of the parking meters? It's killing our business. They don't have parking meters in Wilmette. They don't have parking meters in Kenilworth or in Winnetka, and people just go up there to shop. So it is an issue when it comes to over-regulation. And that is something that we have here in Illinois. You want to bring back jobs in Illinois? Honestly, get the government out of the way. Let the government out of the way, the businesses will be able to do what they do. But we over-regulate, we overtax. In fact, they had a survey of people who were leaving Illinois, and they said, why are you leaving, why are you leaving? And the answer was always, number one, taxes, taxes, taxes. That was always, they said, well, that can't be the reason, so they took it off. They said, we're not going to ask about taxes. Why are you leaving? Don't say taxes. They said jobs and housing. That's what it was. It was job opportunities and housing opportunities, which really I think is just another way of saying cost of living. You could get a much bigger house somewhere else and pay less taxes, or the same size house and pay a lot less taxes. You have jobs that are willing to expand where they live. Look at John Deere. If you work there, if you want to grow in the business, you're going to be going to Iowa or Mexico most likely, because that's where they're putting most of their jobs now. they're not keeping them, they're expanding, but not in Illinois. So if you want to have a job where you can grow with the company, chances are it's not going to be here in Illinois. We're going to have to go somewhere else. So we need to release those regulations, get rid of the regulations, lower the taxes, and release the businesses to be able to grow and expand. And that will help a lot when it comes to being able to handle that.
So you hit on housing affordability, being an Evanston guy. Housing affordability. According to Evanston Now and the Evanston Roundtable, Evanston is wrestling with housing affordability issues. Current average 30-year mortgage rate is 6.94%, up from 3.45% in February of 2020. While mortgage rates are a national issue, not your job, is there any role for the state in dealing with housing affordability? And also, to what degree does taxation, which you've kind of hit on, so what can the state do for housing affordability?
Well, I think a big thing when you hear about housing affordability or affordable housing, most people think of low-income housing, which of course nobody wants in their yard, right? It's always a NIMBY thing. But what about the house you live in? What about making that house affordable? What about making that affordable where you can live in? I talk to people, I'm knocking on doors, and I talk to veterans, I talk to seniors who are very concerned about the property taxes here in Illinois and in this district because they're on a fixed income. And the last thing I think any government should do is tax somebody out of their home. I mean, that's just appalling. That should be a shame. So there's a few things we need to do on that one. A lot of the taxes are driven by a few things. A, redundancies in government. We have so many layers of government. We have more government bodies than any other state in the country, and so many layers of government. These are just picks. We can definitely consolidate those to have fewer taxing bodies, save a lot of money that way. Another thing we could do is we could have a fixed levy. I mean, you read a couple of years ago, people south side, Chicago, South Cook County, their home values went down, their property taxes went up. How is that conscionable that would ever happen? A fixed levy, your home value goes down, so do your taxes. That's just the way it's got to be. I don't want to starve government for sure, but they got to operate. But you can't just sit there and say we're going to raise taxes to make it work. And that's another thing. Government has to be able to function. When we're losing jobs and we're losing people, we're losing our tax base. And that means those of us who are still here have to pay more to make it work. We need to bring it, again, a lot of this comes back to getting jobs and people back into this state, which is something that we are not doing right now in Springfield. Getting more jobs and more people into this state so that it lessens the tax burden for all of us who are here. That's just one of the big keys to it.
So I'm going to build on that.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Well, you mentioned taxes, and I've been a resident of Winnetka for 36 years. My taxes have never been higher. But I was willing, because the school system, which is the major part of our taxes, go to the schools. But I just got an email from New Trier Neighbors. I don't know if anybody else knows about them, but our schools are indoctrinating kids with things that we really don't want them knowing about. One in particular was they require the teachers to see certain movies which are definitely slanted leftist and anti-Semitic and definitely anti-Israel. I attended a number of school board meetings and found out there's different groups that give grants to the schools, but with strings attached. And they don't tell you what those strings are, but you have to hire certain people and there has to be a certain amount of curriculum. There has to be a stop to that.
Yeah, and Springfield could do that. That's one of the things in Springfield. We are technically control over all the local governments, including school boards. So we could have talked about that, and we can pass laws, pass regulations to say that education has to be open for everybody. We're not here to indoctrinate. We're here to teach. We're here to educate kids, focus on the basics. I mean, how many kids in Chicago can't read, can't do math, can't at grade level? It's appalling. But we have teachers who are pushing this stuff, and that's wrong. But thank you.
Build off that. This is kind of wonky. Can you talk about witness slips?
Witness slips. So raise a hand if you know what a witness slip is. That is where you can basically send a note, I guess, to Springfield saying that I'm a witness on issue X and I oppose it or I support it. And that's one way of having your voice heard in Springfield is by submitting witness slips. And it may seem like it's nothing, but there are times in Springfield, if you get enough witness slips, to oppose something or to support something, it will stop it dead its tracks, or it will fast track it through.
Wait a minute,
And
who did they go to?
they typically it's to a committee that is hearing something.
A legislative committee?
Yes.
Okay.
So it'll go to a legislative committee that's hearing something on whatever they're in charge of, and all of a sudden they'll get 10 witness slips in support of it, and they'll get 1,200 against it. It'll die right there, and it doesn't matter what side it's on or who's in charge of the committee. Typically, when you hear that kind of stuff, it's going to affect how it happens.
How is this different than the mass emails that legislators and their committees get? I mean, doesn't the same thing happen with emails?
It's similar, but this is more of an official way, and it's actually through the Illinois government webpage, where you fill it out that way, and it's more of an official thing versus a mass email, which you honestly don't really know where it's coming from or anything of that nature. This is more of an official support or opposition to something. And I think it's important that people do know about witness slips, and they do see it.
Would you commit to having that on your website so that people can go to your website and actually see what are the issues are that we can weigh in on? Because I've never seen that with Robin Gable, Laura Fine, or Jennifer Gong-Gershowitz.
I honestly think that we need to be a lot more transparent in Springfield. I mean, one of the problems we have is corruption, and corruption loves darkness. The more sunlight we have as to what's going on, the better off we are. So yes, it will be on my webpage. I will be talking to people regularly when we're not in session. I don't know how many people have ever had Robin Gable just kind of come up and knock on their door, or Robin said, hey, I'm here, I'm going to talk to you, or called a meeting and said, we're going to have people here, we're going to discuss issue X or X, Y, and Z, and I want to hear what you have to say on it. I will be doing that if I'm in Springfield. I want to hear from the voters, I want to hear from the people on the 18th, I want to know what you think, because I'm here to represent you. I'm not here to represent the party, I'm not here to represent the special interests. I'll let Robin do that. I'm here to represent the people, and that's what I'm here for.
So I'm going to go over to schools, kind of an Evanston thing, but don't hold me hostage to that. So Evanston now, an Evanston Roundtable, District 65, for those who are in the know, District 65 is on the verge of insolvency. What is the state's obligation to District 65 and the residents of Evanston, and how does our Illinois House Representative influence this process? Do you have conditions for your support to bail out District 65?
If there was ever an argument to consolidate school districts, right? I mean, here you have the grade school district, 65, which gets the same tax base as the high school district, and I forget what that number is, but the high school, Evanston Township High School is its own school district. Evanston Township High School is doing quite fine. They got a surplus of money. District 65, apparently, if you've read the reports, they got the administrators spending money on catered meals and moving expenses, and all kinds of just really non-school related things.
I may not have the exact numbers right, but it was posted in one of the Evanston news websites that they were going to fire something like 30 teachers, but at the same time hire 100 other positions within the school district.
Yeah, I have read that they are looking to change things in District 65. It's absolutely true, and I don't know what the numbers are either. You're correct.
Any reasonable person that reads any of the news would have to look at this and think that it's just being mismanaged to an extreme degree that borders on the criminal.
Exactly, and I will say, having the state take over that school district is really just having the school district go from the frying pan to the fire. I mean, the state can't balance a budget.
Yeah.
The state's having all their own issues. I mean, I don't know if you all heard, I'm going to segue a little bit. I had to answer questions for the Tribune endorsement about the budget. So I actually had to open the budget and start reading the budget, which puts me probably ahead of everybody who voted for the budget, to be honest with you, because I actually looked at it. And one of the things that the state did was the state in the 2025 budget gave the Illinois State Lottery Commission $1 billion. Just to give $1 billion. They said, well, are you increasing head count by that many? No, not increasing head count at all. Then why do you need $1 billion? Well, to make sure we can pay out multi-state winners. I mean, people have been buying tickets. People have been doing, you're supposed to have the money already, and you're supposed to be investing it. They're just mismanaged it so bad. We've been paying out multi-state lotteries with $1 billion jackpots since 2016. It's not new. But now we just gave them $1 billion. Came out of our taxpayers because they missed. Nobody got fired as far as I know. I didn't read anybody got fired. You know, same thing in District 65. Who's being held accountable for this? What's going on? The state needs to step in and hold people accountable, not just run it, but hold people accountable and find out what's going on and why are parents being jilted this way. It's their kids that are failing, that are being hurt. You know, the teachers, the administrators, they'll all be fine. But the kids are being hurt by this lack of resources. And that's something the state needs to work on, is holding people accountable and having the resources that we need for our kids to learn. You had a question?
Yes, you were talking about the Evanston school system. I believe it's a person by the name of Savage Williams.
Yeah.
And she was the president of the school board, correct?
Okay.
I think she worked
And I also believe it was an investigative, I guess, Christopher Rufo, who unveiled the fact that they had one of the employees of Evanston High School had a sexual encounter with one of the students, and they paid out $250,000 and hid it. And she was the one that was behind that. I also found out that she's being paid, I don't know, $100,000 or something like that from New Trier High School as an advisor to on things like DEI and CRT training. So when I see these things happen, and you wonder, why the school's bankrupt, they're putting their emphasis in the wrong place.
And where is our state rep bringing this to light? Right? Why does it have to be an investigative reporter? Why aren't we telling people about this? Is it because that our state reps are embarrassed? Or is it because they're trying to hide it themselves? I mean, that's part of the issue that we have here in Illinois, is that people aren't willing to stand up and say, we did something wrong. This was wrong, and we're fixing it. Here's how we're fixing it. They'd rather not. They'd rather brush it under the table and keep it under the rug and not let anybody know about it and just keep things going. And that's wrong.
So speaking of keeping things going, pensions.
Pensions.
So it consumes 20% of the state budget. What is your solution to this albatross